Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Let's Code Duke Nukem, where we aim to recreate the original EGA action platformer released in 1991. Now that we've made a start with our active tile system, we can expand on it by adding these security cameras. Their behavior is that they point in the general direction of Duke. Adding this new active tile will lead us into changing the GFX code quite a bit in order to keep the class clean and readable. We're going to delegate the drawing of the tiles to the active tiles themselves. And once that is done, Duke will also be able to draw his own tiles. So let's get into it. Okay, let's implement the camera. Now we'll add a new package to have all the active tiles in there, because right now we just have two, active and acme, and then a third will be added for the camera, and then a lot more will be added. So adding a package where we can just group all these things together here would be great. Okay, so we have one related problem. Here, this active, this needs to be a public abstract class now because it lives in a different package. And now all these warnings should go away. Okay, cool. Yep. So nice. So let's add a new class, camera. This extends active as well. And we'll add a constructor for the camera X and Y. And then we have an update method here. Here we need to change direction based on Duke. Okay, so we need to figure out if Duke is to the left of us or to the right or right below us. So what we'll do is we'll just calculate the column that Duke is at. So int col is the state get Duke get x, and then divided by the tile size. So this gives us Duke's column, and then we have our column where we live. So that is get x divided by the tile size. And then we'll just keep our facing. So we face. So -1 is going to be facing to the left, 0 is going to be pointing down, and 1 is going to be facing right. So facing is. And then we'll just subtract our column from Duke's column. Okay, let's just. All right, and then we need to have a getter for the facing so that the renderer can use it in order to draw the correct graphic. So let's go first to our resource loader, because here we need to check tile ID equals something for the camera. And then we need to do something similar here. Copy the left tile, calculate X and Y, and then instead of a new acme, let's add a new camera. And then in the GFX, okay, so here let's for now do an instance of acme. Else if active instance of camera. Then we need to know int tile equals some base tile plus the facing. So we can do active get facing. Simplify. Draw tile. So where is the camera file located? Let's here, security camera, anim 4. Tiles 8 to 10. Okay, so 4 times 50 is 200. So 208 is the first camera image. 208 plus the facing. Now remember the facing, it goes -1, 0. So let's add the +1 to start at 0. All right, so then we can say graphics and then anim get tile camera mean active get X, active get Y. All right, so let's see if we get some cameras in the level. Looks like we got some errors here. Array index out of bound. Right, because this is of course not our camera ID. I was supposed to get it here, so this is the ID for our active tile camera, 3024. So there we go. And let's see, here we have a security camera that is following us around. So that is pretty nice. So we probably need to fix Duke's bounding box a little bit because it's pretty huge at the moment, as you can see. So the cameras point a bit too late to the right. But we'll fix that soon enough. First though, I want to make some changes in how these things are rendered, because doing these instance off checks is pretty horrible. As I said in the last episode, I would like the active tiles to be able to render for themselves. So let's also make a public void render. And then let's for now just get the GFX class in here. And then let's go to the Acme sign and let's implement this render function here. And then let's go to GFX and then just let's rip out these things here. And then go to Acme and then we'll tell GFX to draw a tile. Let's see. So we need to do a few things for this. So we need to obtain the graphics and we need to obtain the sprites. So let's first get these sprites in a single assets class. I think that's going to be better. So let's go to GFX and then let's have these things in an assets class. Let's create a constructor. This guy takes in the resource loader because it needs to load the assets. And then we'll do an initialize method, of course, where we basically do the same thing here. And yep, assets. Let's include the font here as well. Let's rename this guy to loader. Font is loader read font. Let's introduce getters for each tile set, man, anim, object, get font. Maybe it would be better to do this int index. And then we'll just expose individual tile at certain locations. Yeah, I think this would be a bit nicer, because we're usually not interested in whole lists, but we're usually just interested in the single images. And later we'll maybe even add the sounds here as well and other stuff. Okay. Yeah, so the font, we do need everything for the font class that we have. So I'm guessing it is okay to expose the entire font here. All right, so now the GFX class can just have a private assets. And then we'll just instantiate the assets here with our loader. And then we'll say like assets.init and then assets get font. Oh, and we also need the border. Okay, let's just go ahead and take that. Assets get border. Border. Border is loader. Get border. Read border. And we'll just want everything. We could also just pass in the assets class into our HUD, into our font and into our HUD. But let's not do too much refactoring at once. So for now, I think this should be fine. But now all the drawing here is gonna fail. So let's, yeah. So here we can say assets, but get anim, assets, get anim tile. All right. And here we need to say assets, get tile set with the correct tile. Assets, get tile set. Assets, get anim. And then let's try and do smart things here. Okay. All anim stuff. And then here, assets, get man index. All right. So that is step one. Then what we'll do is we'll create a interface called renderer, public void draw tile, buffered image int x int y. And then this active one, instead of g of x, let's just pass in the renderer, and let's add assets, but get assets here. So this means that now the camera, Acme, gets in a renderer, and then we can say like renderer.draw tile, renderer get assets, get object 83, and then x, y. So this we should assign this, I guess, to an image. Okay, x plus tile size. Okay. So I'm not sure if assets should be a part of the renderer or if it should just be a second argument in this render function, so that you get renderer plus the assets. That'll make you do stuff. But okay, we can always change stuff around. So here we can just, instead of doing this if else stuff, we can just say active.render this. And then all we gotta do is implement renderer here, which forces us to implement two things: draw tile and get assets. So I think I'll drop the get assets from here. Don't really like it. So I'll just pass it in as a second argument for the Acme sign to use. That's why we do these refactoring things. try to make everything nice and concise and understandable. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to keep track of the graphics here. These are the graphics that are associated with the buffer. So here we tell that the graphics is just the, wait, we can just obtain it for now in the draw tile. So here we can just, let's delegate to this draw tile method. And then as soon as we don't need it anymore, we'll collapse it back into a single function. Okay, so let's quickly also do the Acme sign. Oh, that we just did the Acme sign, and now we can do the camera as well, so we can get rid of these instance of things. So here we can just say, all right, we want, so we can drop our get facing here, don't need it anymore. And here we can just say facing +1. And then we can do renderer.drawTile X and Y. We can even just inline everything to a one-liner. Okay, so I'm liking this. So now each active tile can just render themselves. So we just need to check out why we are doing, yeah, so we have this and we have assets. And yeah, this is looking pretty good. So we can remove the get assets again. Don't need it anymore because we just get it as a separate. Okay, messed up the Acme sign because I have to increment the ID here, 84, but that's okay. Cameras are still okay. All right, so I'm liking this refactoring here. So let's do the same because the graphics file, graphics class still needs to know some details about the level here, which we can leave for now. About these level tiles, we can leave for now as well. I was hoping that we can let Duke draw himself now. So instead of drawDuke, let's take this out of here. Let's go into Duke and let's do the same here. So let's find the update method here, and then let's just public void renderer assets. And then we'll just tell Duke to go ahead and draw. So we need to check our own facing. We need to check our own state. We can check our own frame. And then here, instead of these graphics things, we can say renderer draw tile. And we don't need to translate these cameras anymore because the renderer does that for us. So this is looking pretty cool. So tile index 1, 2, 3. We got the tile size to the right here. Tile size. And then we get the lower left tile. And then we get the lower right tile. Okay, yeah, let's not draw the bounding box here anymore. Let's switch on the state. All right, I'm liking this. Now Duke can just draw himself. So going back to GFX, it really cleans things up here. So that means that we are doing a call to draw Duke here. So here we can just say game state get Duke render this with the assets. And then if we want to, we can still draw We can still draw the bounding box here outside for now, because I don't think we'll keep it for much longer. Okay, let's run. See if we still have a working game. Yeah, still looks pretty good. Okay, so we did some pretty hefty refactoring here, but I think I'm okay with it. The graphics class really now getting less and less responsibility other than just drawing stuff. I like that Duke is now able to draw himself, and I like that these active tiles are also able to determine for themselves what they should draw at what point. So I think that concludes it for this episode. We've improved our active tile set system with the ability to draw themselves. So for next episode, I think we'll just add maybe some of the item boxes or something that are strewn about in the level. For now, I want to thank you very much for joining me. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the series so far, consider dropping a like and a subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.